Welcome back. This is Arise News Channel. You're watching The Morning Show with me, Biola Labi. My next guest is Babatunde Ibidapo-Obe. Started Law Padi, an online platform to educate Nigerians on their rights and duties by giving clear and easy to understand information about the law. Since its launch in July 2015, thousands of Nigerians faced with legal issues have been helped. In 2017, Law Padi was a finalist and awarded a grant for the Hill Innovative Justice Challenge. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Law Padi.
Yes. Okay.
Why was this important for you to set up? Why did you? What was the need? What did you think Nigerians were lacking when you set up Law Padi?
Okay, so when the original idea started, it was a bit of a selfish thing. So when I got qualified to practice law, as it happens in Nigeria, everyone around you, your friends, your family, they just think that you're the go-to person for any kind of legal issue that they have. And so what used to happen is people would come up to me and ask me very, very mundane legal stuff, and I would obviously talk to them about it. And then I got to a point, I thought, shouldn't there be something that exists where people can get the answers to these questions? Then fast forward, I moved to the UK for a while, and then while I was in the UK, they have a lot of online platforms to give this kind of information, have Citizens Advice Bureau and things like that. So I then thought, okay, maybe we should start something like that in Nigeria. I came back, checked the market, saw if there was anything. Now there were. So there are other platforms that give information, but as it is with a lot of lawyers, we tend to talk a lot, and we speak just for ourselves to understand. So it's very, very difficult to understand. So the goal was
They were very academic.
Very academic. That's exactly what it was. And so the goal was not just to put this information online, but to make it easily understandable for the average Nigerian. And I hope that's what we've created, a platform that helps people understand their legal rights in an easy to kind of relate with manner.
I find that the most complicated conversations to have are like with doctors, with lawyers, with your IT guy, and the guy that fixes your cable TV.
Yeah.
Those are always like, they're sort of like these these coded conversations.
One of my favorite lecturers at university said, every profession is a conspiracy against the laity. So basically, I don't think it's his words, but he quoted somebody. Yes. It's a conspiracy, that's what we do.
I always feel that it's like the guy that's fixing your computer is like, did you turn it on and off? No, I didn't do that, thank you. But so here you are now, people are asking you questions at parties, people are trying to help, they want you to help them sort of answer these nibbly, there's always a legal thing, or you're really confused about your rights. So you set the site up.
Yes.
What was the most surprising thing about this?
Well, the most surprising thing when we launched, so we launched in 2015, the most surprising thing is how many people actually came to it and how many people kind of engaged with what we were trying to do. We initially thought that there would be maybe just one or two people that might like the idea, but as early as the second, third month, we were getting thousands of people on it and asking questions. So the goal was not just to put out what we thought people wanted to see and read about. We wanted it to be a conversation, so people would go on it and ask questions, and we would use that information to then create more content. So we're getting a lot of requests, so why don't you have something on this? Why don't you have something about setting up a photography business or a fashion design business, that kind of thing. We're getting all those kind of questions. And so we use that information to create more content. So I guess to answer your question, what was surprising is how much people engaged with our vision and wanted us to take it to the next level.
So they actually forced you to grow faster than you
Yes,
wanted
they did. Yes, they did. I think in the first 3 months, we had about, 20 to 30 articles. By month 6, we had up to 150, and now we're pushing somewhere around 280 to 300. And that's just articles. So what people also did is that they then asked us to use other mediums. So people, I'm sure you're aware of this, and a lot of people don't, not like reading. They don't like to read, but they have a short attention span.
Sure.
Especially in the social media age. So we wanted to change the way that people consume our content. So not just reading 500 to 800 word articles. We decided to start to go into infographics. We started to go into short videos, and we started to go into things like automated tools. So one of our most popular automated tools is a chatbot that we created called Ada. That's the automated divorce advisor that basically goes through a series of questions and lets you know if you
automated divorce advisor.
Yeah.
Why did you need to set up Ada?
Okay, and so that's one of the more controversial things that we have to, the questions that we have to answer. Now, because remember I said we work kind of reactively. People ask us stuff and then we use that. Excuse me. We saw that a lot of the people that were coming to us were asking us questions about divorce. Now, as you might be aware, divorce is still a bit of a taboo topic in Nigeria. And so the platform offered the absolute best kind of outlet. It's anonymous. People can ask as many questions as possible about divorce without kind of judgment from friends or family. And so I think at one point we had about 30 to 40% of people coming on our website asking questions about divorce.
Oh, wow,
and so
30 to 40%.
30 to 40%. So we're using a lot of our in-house kind of resources trying to answer these questions. And then we realized there had to be a better way. So then we started to create better articles around divorce. And then we created that because the law in Nigeria about divorce is still, it's really old. It's set in the 70s. It hasn't been updated. And so there are certain criteria that you must meet in order to get a divorce. And so what we decided to do is basically create this kind of checklist. So Ada would ask you this question. And then if you say yes or say no, Ada will let you know if you can get a divorce on that basis. And if you can't, Ada will put you in touch with the information that you need to be able to get a divorce later down the line.
But that's a huge percentage of traffic that's coming from divorce inquiries.
Yep.
Why do you think that is happening? What do you think is cultural? What is culturally shifting? And this isn't, just from what you're seeing on the site.
Well, because what we do a lot is we track the data that we have access to. So I think it might be a bit, the divorce might be a bit skewed just because there isn't anything.
Sure.
So there isn't any.
It's not like you can go to 20 different places to get it.
So it's just
like,
us.
Oh, wow.
And so that's why a lot of people come on divorce. And like I said initially, I think it's because it's still culturally taboo to talk about it. And an online space lets people ask as many questions as possible around it. But it's not just divorce. We also get a lot of traffic, especially like this day and age where everyone is trying to be an entrepreneur, which is fantastic for the country. Everyone's trying to get into tech. So we get a lot of requests about how to register a patent, how to protect your business idea with founders and shareholders and investors. So there's a lot of business talk going on, or business information that people are seeking. There's also a lot of information about civic engagement. We have a lot of content about how does someone become a president, how does someone become a senator, how does someone become a governor, and then how to impeach how to impeach
a president,
how to impeach, how to recall senators, and so a lot of people and how laws are made. So I think our most popular article is how laws are made in Nigeria, by far.
Do you have a sense of like the demographic that uses your?
So we try to track it as much as possible. So it's between 18 and 42.
Oh,
that's
wow.
a wide. That's
it
a
is
wide
a wide range. It is a wide range.
With specific content, we ask for age-related information.
Of course, because you want to make sure people are old enough to access that.
Yes. So for instance, with we have some content around, and which is one of the things that is kind of close to my heart. On employment and employment law in Nigeria. And so for those people, the age range is somewhere between 19 and 32, where they have issues with their employers are taking them for a ride, taking advantage of them. And so what we try to do is create tools and create information that empowers them. It could be someone not paying your salary on time, or not paying your salary at all, or someone deducting your pension withdrawal and they're not actually putting into your pension account. So we have these kinds of information on our platform to help people.
And so what type of things do you see happen, and how have you guys been able to been helpful in resolving them, especially employment? Let's start with employment. Okay,
so we start with employment. With employment, there's the people. So when people come on the websites, they ask the question. So we start to see where we should write content. So one of the early ones was someone was working in a company. They made him sign a training bond. I don't know if you're familiar with what a training bond is, but training bond is basically you sign a contract. They train you for a certain period of time, and you sign a contract that if you were to leave before that period expires, you'd have to pay the company X amount. Now, unfortunately, training bonds are legal in Nigeria.
They're legal?
They are legal, and a lot of banks actually use training bonds in Nigeria. But what people do is, just because something is legal, some people then go and then try to take it a bit too far. Now, there's a under contract law in Nigeria, there are unenforceable contracts. There are contracts where if the terms of the contract are unfair, if there's duress or undue influence, you can actually break those contracts. So what we did with trading bonds is that we explained the legal principles around it, and not just because someone made you sign a piece of paper doesn't mean you're bound by it. You need to have a lawyer to review it, and if possible, then try and break it. So we started with training bonds. So to go back to your question, yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm being
okay.
a lawyer
You're
and talking.
You're very passionate about. You know what I mean? What you said that really was making me crack a smile was you said unfair and all this stuff, and then I actually found out that unconscionable is actually a legal.
It is.
It's so if you sign a contract and a contract is unconscionable, it can actually stand up in the court of law that this is unconscionable.
Exactly. Yes.
So anything that makes you lose your consciousness can stand up in a court of law. I love these things about law that you don't think would be like legal grounds.
Yeah. And so to your question, what tools? So with employment, what we're trying to do is at the moment actually launching a bot, a chat bot similar to the divorce one, to advise on employment issues. Now we have it because we work with a network of lawyers. It's not just myself and my co-founder. We have a network of lawyers that we work with, and some of them specifically for employment issues, they have agreed to do them pro bono. So, for instance, you can't really ask someone who earns 30,000 naira a month to pay for a lawyer. So for cases like that, we have lawyers who would step in and actually take it further.
But I have a question for you on training bond, because actually this is something new I'm finding out.
Yes.
On training bonds, are those usually for, like, if that's like a stockbroker license, is it like because you're going to be making so much money, or are these also still sort of lower wage people that end up being
so the essence, if you go back to the essence of a training bond, is actually a valid premise.
But it's more like for university education.
Not necessarily.
No?
So, say for instance, you work in a company and you have absolutely no idea about how things work in that company. They spend time and money training you about the processes in that company. For instance, if you worked in Bank A and Bank A trained you so you can work effectively in the financial services industry in Nigeria. The moment you finish working for the training in Bank A, you then up and leave and go to Bank B. Now, Bank B doesn't have to spend those resources to train you, and so they've gotten an advantage from your training from Bank A. So it's a bit unfair to Bank A for them to train you and then you move. And so that's why Bank A would have you sign a training bond. So from a business perspective, it is a valid business decision to make to get someone to sign a training bond. What you then see is that what we were seeing is that Bank A would then say, okay, you're going to pay 5 million naira. When in actual fact, the training that was spent and the time was spent on you was maybe 1 million naira. So you can't just put a figure, a random figure. You have to be able to, and the Nigerian National Industrial Court has ruled on this on a number of occasions. You can't just, pick a number out of the air. It has to be commensurate to the training that you actually provided, and potentially in some instances, the kind of business loss that would relate from you leaving abruptly. So so that's kind of the law around training bonds.
So now, I mean, one of the things in Nigeria is that it's really hard for, I mean, legal firms aren't allowed to advertise.
No, they're not allowed to advertise.
So with Law Padi, how do people find you? How do people discover you? Are you allowed to advertise?
So Law Padi, we don't do any advertising. So Law Padi isn't a law firm. We have to put that straight. We're not a law firm. We're an organization that helps people just to know about their rights. And so if you were to come on Law Padi and then you had a legal problem, what would happen is actually like a bit of a triage. You'd ask your question or you would interact with us. If we see that your question can be answered without you needing a lawyer, we would answer your question. If we see that your question can be answered and potentially we can provide a free template, for instance, if you have a complaint about DST, can I say that? If you have a complaint about
a service provider. Yes.
I apologize.
About any service provider. But there's obviously a lot of complaints about people on your service providers.
Any service provider whatsoever, or a bank or telecommunications company.
I like how you expanded that very quickly.
Yes. We have templates for that. So we would point you to a template that you could use, a free template, and then we would thank you and then let you go on your way. But if we see that actually the issue that you have is much deeper and you need actually to talk with a lawyer, we would, because we have a network of lawyers that we work with, we would put you in touch with a lawyer. Now, we have a relationship with them, but it's not a financial relationship. And that is because under the rules of professional conduct in Nigeria, Nigerian lawyers are not allowed to pay referral fees to third-party companies. And so we wouldn't get a referral fee for that. And so we put you in touch with a lawyer, and we try to ensure that the lawyer that you're going to work with, number one, has the skill, number two, has the commitment, and number three, won't take advantage of you. So that's what we do in that kind of relationship. And so, the lawyers don't advertise, so at no point in time would we say, speak to this lawyer until you say to us that, you know what, we need you to refer us to a lawyer. So it's all information and everything is driven by the client. And then we then say, okay, speak to this lawyer. There's no, oh, why did you speak to this lawyer or speak to that lawyer? No advertising. We try to keep it as
neutral.
As neutral and above the board as possible. Because what we're doing is we're actually, and I don't want to go a bit too far in this, but I think what we're doing is a bit disruptive in the Nigerian legal space. And with disruption, there's always going to be the status quo might want to fight against it. So what we don't want to do.
So you're really trying to empower people with information.
Yes, definitely, yes.
I have another question for you. When you look at the number of sort of questions you're getting on the site, what type of questions are you getting around sort of like civic rights? And one of the things that I've been seeing a lot on social media lately is sort of police harassment and how people respond to that.
Yeah.
Are you getting a lot of questions around that?
Yes, we are. And so we have a lot of information on the sites about if you want to make a complaint against a police officer, last mile official, FRSC official, soldier in the army. We have all this information, like how to make the complaints, what should be step 1, step 2, step 3, and who to send the complaints to. And so whenever we get those kinds of questions, we just push them in the direction of the article that explains everything. Now, unfortunately, each day comes up with a different issue. I don't know if you're familiar with, there was information recently that I think the PR of the police force said people should not have pepper sprays.
Yes.
So we had a lot of people coming to us and asking, is this correct? Can they say this? And what we don't want to do is just put out information just because it's at the moment it's topical. We like to do as much research as possible and then put out a well-researched article. So there's no point in just giving information for the point for the.
But is it legal or not legal?
What I'm going to say, I'm not going to.
People at home is like, is pepper spray legal or not legal?
So at the moment we have our lawyers and network that are working on an article. I don't want to preempt what they're going to say because you have to. It might not be legal in one law, but there's loads of laws that one of the things.
And then there might be like the amount of ml you have, the container, how you carry it, where you carry it.
Exactly.
So stay tuned and keep checking Law Padi for that. The last question I wanted to ask you was really about medical malpractice or medical questions or impropriety. How are you finding that to come up a lot on the site?
Yes. So we had a lot of questions around that. So one of the things we did is about, I think 6-7 months ago, we shared this article on medical malpractice in Nigeria. So it's there, what to happen. It's technically a law it's under the law of negligence. And so basically what would happen is we tell you what you should, in order to bring a case, what you would need to prove, what steps you need to take, and what rights you have. And so, unfortunately, when someone has an issue with a medical practitioner, and that unfortunately leads to loss of life or loss of limbs, at that point in time, they just want to be with them, their family, their friends. They want to lash out, but when they come on the website and then we interact with them and we tell them all the work that needs to go into this, they kind of take a step back and be like, do you know what, it's not worth it. So I think there is probably a niche or a need somewhere where there's for an organization that can step in and assist these people through that, because you're dealing with working on the burial and all that emotional pain, and then someone else says to you that, you know what, you need to speak to a lawyer and get this and that. They don't really want to do that. So there's a lot of it happening, unfortunately. It's just that the resources that these people can kind of tap into
are very limited.
Very limited at the moment. There's only so much that we can do.
Sure. Ibidapo, thank you so much, and thank you to you and your partner for setting up Law Padi. I think this is really empowering. It's giving people information, and information is power.
It is.
And for those people looking for an opportunity, there's an opportunity to help families that have medical negligence issues. Hopefully, there'll be someone that'll pick it up and reach out to you.
Yep.
That is it for this edition of The Morning Show. I'm Biola Alabi. Thanks to my guests for joining me today. Have a great weekend.